Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and on today's show, I'm going to be breaking down my perfect free agency plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers here in 2026. And the way we're going to set this up today is first I'm going to tell you what I want the Steelers to do in free agency this year, and then I'll tell you what I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are actually going to do in free agency here over the course of the next 7 days or so. Now, later today, Ponzi and I will be going live this afternoon. We don't know exactly what time yet, but probably around, I would say, 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be going live to answer your questions before NFL free agency unofficially kicks off tomorrow, with the legal tampering period opening tomorrow afternoon. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions about the wide receiver and quarterback positions, as well as some other positions. So we're going to be going live today to answer all of your questions, as well as talk about the latest news and rumors and reports that come out throughout the course of the day. And don't forget, last year, DK Metcalf was traded to the Steelers the day before free agency. So maybe, just maybe, the con artist could strike again. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and join us for all of our live free agency week coverage that we're going to be having here on Steelers Talk. We'll be live for pretty much the entire day for the first couple days of free agency, and pretty much until we have a solution at quarterback. So I appreciate all of your guys' support. With that, let's get into the content today. And the first thing that I want you guys to keep in mind here is that Pittsburgh, as it currently stands, has a little bit over $50 million in cap space heading into free agency. So that's quite a bit that they could do, quite a few moves with, but they still have some avenues to create more cap space if they want. Two cut candidates to probably keep your eye on here over the next week or so is Patrick Queen, the linebacker, where you can save $13.3 million against the cap if you cut him, coming off of 2 really disappointing seasons here in Pittsburgh. And then Mason Rudolph, if you want to cut him, you can save an additional $3 million. But you can really save a lot of money if you decide to restructure some contracts here if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are the top 4 that you can restructure. TJ Watt, you can save a little bit over 20. DK Metcalf, almost 18. Alex Highsmith, you can save about 6.5. And Pat Freiermuth, a little bit over 5. So keep that in mind in terms of the avenues to creating more cap space. So first up here, let's break down what I would do. My perfect free agency for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll start with the quarterback position, where I would love Aaron Rodgers to sign a 1-year deal at $10 million. Now, I think he would probably sign for a little bit more than that, but he said last offseason that I'd play for 10 M's. I don't care, so I put him to his word here. And I just think that Aaron Rodgers, in terms of a 1-year solution, right now, what I want, guys, is I want to get to the 2027 NFL draft, and I think Aaron Rodgers is the best kind of bridge to that kind of to that path where it's going to be a really good quarterback class. But Rodgers, second year with the guys, he's got that continuity with guys like DK Metcalf, Pat Freiermuth, Jalen Warren, if they bring back Kenneth Gainwell, certainly him as well. Familiarity with the scheme here with Mike McCarthy, and also just from a skill set perspective, even if he had never played under Mike McCarthy before, I think he's a perfect fit for McCarthy's scheme because of his really high football IQ and ability to kind of manage the line of scrimmage and all that different stuff. But also, he's a terrific quarterback mentor. So Will Howard, if you end up drafting a quarterback, doesn't matter. He's going to be somebody that really pours himself into these younger quarterbacks and his knowledge and all that different stuff. Also, the players want him back. I mean, these players that shared the locker room with him last year, they pretty much to a man want him back this year. That is for a reason. It's because they believe that he can still play and play at a high level. And also, this quarterback market, generally isn't very good. I think that Rodgers is one of the better quarterback options that are out there. And when you take into account all the other factors, not to mention his playoff experience as well, I think that he's probably the best option in the short term here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And for me, guys, just get me to the 2027 NFL draft, because I do believe that the quarterback field there in terms of first-round quarterback talent is going to be a lot better than it is this year. I think that they'll probably have at least 4, maybe up to like 6 first-round quarterbacks next year. And even if the Steelers are really competitive this year with Aaron Rodgers, they would still be in position to potentially even trade up for their guy in 2027. So for me, my goal when it comes to the long-term plan at quarterback is to get me to the 2027 NFL draft. Aaron Rodgers on a 1-year, $10 million contract. helps me accomplish that goal while also trying to stay as competitive as possible heading into 2026. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Who will be the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback week 1 of the 2026 NFL season? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section for today's pinned question. Just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today. While I tell you about our sponsor, let me know who you think is going to be the Steelers starting quarterback week 1 next year. Now, before we get into the rest of today's show, you guys can check out our website here, chatsports.com/Steelers Talk, to pick up your Steelers Talk channel logo t-shirt. You guys have been asking for this specific t-shirt for a while, and our bosses have finally allowed us to get into the merch game here on Steelers Talk. So if you guys want to help out the channel and you guys want more merch opportunities in the future, go to our website and you guys can pick this up for $24.99 on our website right now, chatsports.com/Steelers Talk. That link is down there in the comments and description of today's show if you guys want to make a purchase. Now we move on here with my perfect free agency plan here this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yes, I would love to bring back Kenneth Gainwell. And right now, the current projection for him and his contract is just a 2-year, $10 million deal. So that's $5 million per season. And for somebody that Aaron Rodgers loved to play with last year, was the team MVP, was a big reason why this Steelers offense was above league average in scoring offense, was around league average in EPA per play and success rate, was because Kenneth Gainwell bailed them out of a lot of situations as a check down option and as a receiving threat. And I would love to pair him back up with Jaylen Warren. That duo was the best thing about this Steelers offense last year. I'd love to bring that back for a $5 million per season price tag. That is not too much, in my opinion. Then you get to the wide receiver position, and I would love to bring in 2 veterans here, Romeo Doubs and Darnell Mooney. Doubs, I would love to get for that $15 million per season price tag The Athletic currently projects him at. I'm guessing because the market is apparently very strong for Doubs, it'll probably be more than that, but that's the ideal number. And then Darnell Mooney, somebody that has been a wide receiver 2 in this league, you bring him in as your wide receiver 3 heading into next year, and then you draft another wide receiver early in the NFL draft. Like, your wide receiver room is looking really, really good. Really like Mooney as a vertical threat, as a route runner. He's a little bit older, has dealt with some injuries, so the price tag shouldn't be that high on him, but I think the upside is certainly there, especially as a wide receiver 3 or 4. Then we get to the offensive line here. Personally, guys, I would like to bring back Isaac Seumalo. I know he's dealt with some injuries in the past. I know he's getting older. I know that the Steelers can potentially get a comp pick if they let him sign for a decent contract this offseason somewhere else, but I would like to see him back. The continuity of the offensive line, I'd like to see that all remain, and then he can remain the elder statesman in the Steelers offensive line room. I'd also sign Brock Hoffman, a really good swing offensive lineman that can play center, can play guard. If there's an injury, I trust him to be out there. He's got that Mike McCarthy connection, and he comes at the vet minimum, so I love that pairing. Then we get to nose tackle here, and I'm going to actually sign 2 nose tackles. I'm going to bring in Khyris Tonga from the New England Patriots, a 2-year, $7.5 million per season deal to be our day 1 starting nose tackle, and then I'm bringing back Daniel Ekuale as our backup nose tackle. I think he did a good job for us last year at just a $2 million price tag. I think that's a good investment for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then personally, what I would do is I would release Patrick Queen, and I would save that extra $13.3 million against the cap, and I'd bring in somebody that I consider to be a really good starting linebacker at a much more reasonable price tag here. Leo Chenal from the Kansas City Chiefs, a 2-year, $6 million per season contract, and he can pair with Peyton Wilson and Malik Harrison heading into next year as your inside linebacker trio. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then we get to cornerback. I would bring back James Pierre, and right now, guys, like the projected contracts for Pierre are not that high. Like, he played very well for the Pittsburgh Steelers, so some people are like, oh, he's going to be too expensive for the Steelers to bring back. I really don't think so, all right? I really think that it's possible that James Pierre could be brought back. I think 2 years, $3.5 million per season would be the ideal contract for the Steelers, but we'll see what his market looks like once we get to Monday. Then at safety, this is where I'll splurge a little bit, and I'll get a really good starting free safety here. Another player coming over from the Chiefs, Brian Cook, one of the top, if not the top safety in this year's safety free agency class. 3 years, Steelers $13.3 million per season to pair him up with Deshaun Elliott and Jalen Ramsey in the secondary. I think that he would be a hell of a get for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, coming up next here on the show, my best guess as to what Pittsburgh will do. I just laid out my perfect free agency plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but what is more realistic? What am I expecting from Omar Khan, Mike McCarthy, and the Steelers over the next week or so? I'm going to answer that question here in just a second, but if you guys are enjoying today's show and you want to help out the channel today, the best way to do that is to click that thumbs up icon. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support, and by clicking that thumbs up icon, YouTube sends our video and recommends our video to other Steelers fans like yourselves if you do that. So I really do appreciate it if you click that thumbs up icon. And now let's get into my best guess for what the Pittsburgh Steelers will do in free agency. Now listen, man, it's really hard to make these kinds of predictions because you never know what the markets are for these guys. Obviously, I don't have insider information on what the Steelers are looking to do. I only know, what's been reported out there, okay? So I'm not expecting to be 100% on these picks, but it's always fun to make some predictions, right? So we will start here with the quarterback position. I do think they will bring back Aaron Rodgers. Now, it might take a couple days, like maybe Rodgers will see if the Vikings are interested, and maybe after Kyler Murray goes to the Vikings, Rodgers ends up re-upping with the Steelers, or maybe when they get that wide receiver too, like maybe once they get Romeo Doubs or whoever, he ends up signing his contract. But I think one way or another, the most likely option for the Steelers is Aaron Rodgers at 1 year, somewhere around $12.5, $13 million, similar to what he got last year. And then I also think they're going to bring in Trey Lance, who spent a year with Mike McCarthy in Dallas, played pretty decently for the Chargers in the preseason last year, still very young, has got a lot of talent, could be a potential long-term option that you can bring in for just 2 years, $3 million per season. I think that makes a lot of sense. And by the way, I would just cut Mason Rudolph. You save $3 million. You allocate that $3 million to pay Trey Lance this year as your QB2. But if you don't get Aaron Rodgers as your QB1 here, some other options to keep your eye on are Malik Willis, Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, and Geno Smith. Now, I think Malik Willis and Kyler are kind of above Carr and Smith. I think DC and then Geno are probably more contingency plans if Willis, Murray, and Rodgers end up not coming to the Steelers this year. But definitely keep your eye on these guys because I think between Rodgers, Willis, Murray, Carr, and Smith, one of those quarterbacks will probably be the Week 1 starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. Then we get to the running back position, and it is being widely reported that the Steelers are probably going to let Kenneth Gainwell walk. I don't like that idea, but I think that something that they may do is bring in Aaron Jones on the vet minimum, a 1 year, $1.25 million deal. Now, I know what you're saying, but Jack, Aaron Jones is so old, he's washed, all this different stuff. Yeah, he has taken a step back, but I still think he's a good receiving back. He'd be a good number 2 guy. He's no longer a number 1 receiver or number 1 running back in this league, but we have Jaylen Warren, who in my opinion is a legit number 1. Aaron Jones can come in being the plan for this team's number 2, and then he also provides competition for Caleb Johnson. If Caleb Johnson is just straight up better than Aaron Jones, like you can just play KJ because you're only paying Aaron Jones the vet minimum. So somebody that Rodgers would like, somebody that has chemistry with Rodgers, good receiver, can do a lot of the Kenneth Gainwell stuff. I think that would be a good value for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then at wide receiver, I'm once again going to say Romeo Doubs, but not at the more ideal figure. I think there is going to be a robust market for Romeo Doubs and guys like Alec Pierce and others, but I think that the Steelers are going to make Doubs their number 1 free agency priority this year, and I think that they'll sign him to something around 4 years, $20 million per season. Then they'll bring in Jalen Tolbert, who Mike McCarthy is very fond of as a wide receiver 4 type depth piece, 1 year, $3.5 million for him. Then we get to the offensive line, and I think they would bring in John Simpson here, who played with Aaron Rodgers in New York 2 years ago, and he actually graded out very well. He was maybe their best offensive lineman that year. He was a top 10 graded guard in football that season, and you can get him for 2 years, $8 million per year, according to Pro Football Focus. I think if that's the price tag tag for him, the Steelers would be all over that. And then also I will, bring Brock Hoffman here as well. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially at the vet minimum. Then at nose tackle, I think that Dalvin Tomlinson makes sense for the Steelers on a 2-year, $4 million per season contract. Tomlinson has connections to new defensive coordinator Patrick Graham. Graham was his defensive line coach in New York in his rookie season, and then he returned in 2020 to be the team's defensive coordinator there in New York. So there's that connection, and the Steelers, I think, need to add a veteran nose tackle this offseason. Then we'll go to the cornerback position. Once again, I will predict James Pierre here a little bit more than my ideal version there at 3.5, but I still don't think it'll be too expensive. 2 years, $5 million per season to come back as this team's starting CB2, I think is a more than fair deal to bring back James Pierre next season. Then at safety, I think they'll be a little bit more frugal here. I think that they will, bring in the connection with Joe Witt and, Simmons with Donovan Wilson, who was in that Cowboys secondary for years as like a stopgap type of veteran safety. They also bring in Jamal Adams, who can be like a hybrid linebacker safety. Adams played the best that he's played in a long time under Patrick Graham in Las Vegas. My guess is Adams would love to follow PG here to Pittsburgh. I'm not sure exactly what his role would look like. Maybe it would be like a dime linebacker. Maybe it would be backup nickel. Maybe it would be a third safety. I don't know what that would look like. I would expect the Steelers to probably draft a safety relatively early in the draft if they do this, but this makes a lot of sense to me because it doesn't cost you a whole lot and leaves the door open to draft a safety of the future in the NFL draft this year. So now it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section, what is a bold prediction that you have for the Steelers in free agency this year? Do you think they sign Malik Willis tomorrow? Do you think they go out and sign Romeo Doubs, or do they make a big trade for somebody? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Give me your bold prediction for this upcoming week, and that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chad Sports. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. A reminder that Ponzi and I will be going live this afternoon to answer your questions on NFL free agency here the day before, and who knows, maybe the con artist will strike with some breaking news before we end up going home for the day. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.